Hello, sports fans. It's July 27th, 2024. Welcome to Cleats by Dre. I'm Dre. Let's talk some sports. And folks, we're going to do more baseball today. Look, vibes are high for the Mets. It's not just they're the only team playing over 600 ball in the last 2 months. It's not just the 5 straight wins. It's the how. They're beating their rivals. They're hitting the piss out of the ball. This is fun. OMG. Oh my God. So look, I have some feelings. Some football's coming soon in some of these episodes. We'll get into some Giants, Notre Dame football. We'll get into some preseason previews. It's baseball time still, though. So we're going to build on what we started with Wednesday. When we said the Mets were more dangerous than the Yankees. We'll add another scalp to it. The Mets are more dangerous than the Braves, which is a crazy comment to say after how the last couple of years have gone. We're going to review what's going on with the Mets and their bitter NL East rival, and then do a real look ahead now at the rest of the season and take some historical comps for what could be. So first, building on Wednesday's pod. What a premonition. I say, it was really Tuesday night. I say the Mets are more dangerous than the Yankees. Then they come out and do that to the Yankees on Wednesday. A 12-3 beatdown in the Bronx. And it's the how. The Mets were scoring in every inning. That's what I'm talking about. That's what we were talking about. Our balanced, deep lineup. They're a threat to score every half inning. That's what wins. I actually went to the game Wednesday. Some comments. First, I've been to probably over 100 Yankee games in my life, if not more. It was honestly weird being there and not rooting for them, right? Because I'm not a hater of the Yankees. I support New York teams, right? But it was weird. The Mets, they were pounding the ball. That was as good as it gets. I'll also say, number 2, Francisco Lindor showed up. I talked to him a little bit on one of my first episodes, right? The way he's hitting the ball, and you gotta love the heartstrings with his daughter and son in the stands, and he's kissing them, and yeah, he's up to 3rd on our Princes of New York list, I think. If you listen to one of my previous episodes. Jalen Brunson's 1. Aaron Judge probably still 2. Lindor 3. All 3 of them are in the building. Brunson was in the building. Hey, someone should have stayed home, right? I hope Sauce Gardner stayed home, our 4th place guy right now, right? It's like the presidential State of the Union addresses. Someone's got to stay home. Can't lose all those guys. God forbid. The third thing I'll say quickly, Yankee Stadium, figure out how to get me into the game. I know it was a huge crowd. The 30, 45-minute lines, let's figure that out. Let's get to the game. All right, but look, that's looking back. And as fun as it is to be the Yankees, there's nothing like beating the Braves, those Atlanta Braves guys. And look, I'll say it, the Mets are more dangerous than the Braves now. And honestly, I don't think that's as controversial to take. The Braves know it too. Let's start with Thursday night. The Mets pulled out 3-2, a walk-off win. But really what stood out to me was the way the Braves ended the game. Right, you had small ball. You had the pinch runner, Whit Merrifield, in the 9th, asking Snitker, the Braves manager, should I be aggressive? This came from Sticker's comments after the game. Sticker said yes. Steal 2nd, great. Gets thrown out, stealing 3rd. It was a close call. They didn't get overturned. Small ball. I don't know the Braves are playing small ball. Braves pound the ball. They wake up thinking they're better. And then in the 10th with, the bunts, and I guess Sticker was saying after the game that Laureano went on his own or he didn't call anything, but just trying to do small ball, that's a sign of a team that knows they're not as good as the other team and would love to scratch out a win. That was just shocking to me because those are the games we know the Mets blow, right? In the past, Alvarez wouldn't be able to throw out the guy at 3rd. Whoever the Mets catcher would throw it in the left field. The Braves would score. We wouldn't get anything in the bottom of the 9th. We'd lose a 3-2 game. But this team's a little different. A little stronger backbone. And what I've seen too, the Braves fans know it also. When I'm on X, right, and I'm looking around, and the comments I saw on their manager, Snitker, it's like they want to fire him. The guy won a World Series in 2021. We would do as Mets fans. Lifetime contract for the manager. I'm probably exaggerating, right? Because we're all, now kind of culture. But wild to see the unrest. We'll get into a little bit of what's going on with the Braves too. But then let's go to Friday night, right? Let's go to tonight as I'm recording. Down to zip. A 3-homer third inning eruption that was just fireworks led to an 8-4 win over the Braves. And what's better, it came against Charlie Morton, who feels like he's always killed us recently with the Braves. Crafty right-hander. Look, we're exercising demons, This is how the Braves would beat us at Turner for years. Just bashing us. We get a lead, they come back. We get a lead, they come back. This is cathartic, guys. Quick side note. Is it possible the Mets are over-memed? I saw videos today of a Spider-Man, of Christmas stuff. Look, we got Grimace, we got Rally Pimp, we got the OMG, we had Seymour Wiener. Yo, it's hard to keep up. It's fun. Maybe that's your thing. We're trying to break all the curses at once. And maybe that's just reflective, right, of our ultra-neurotic, ultra-sarcastic kind of positioning as a fan base, waiting for the other shoe to always drop. And look, like I said about the Jets on my previous pods, maybe weird shit, pardon my French, needs to happen to beat a curse. All right, I digress. A little bit about the Braves, and I'm not deep on the Braves, so I'm not going to go too deep. But look, they are decimated by injury, right? Acuna and Strider, arguably two of the best players in the league, best pitcher in the league, MVP last year, Acuna, out for the year, right? Michael Harris is injured, Albies is injured now. That's a shell of the team that we've been battling with for the last couple of years. There's more injuries I didn't even mention, but you know what? I don't feel bad for Braves fans. 2022, the Mets had that 10-game collapse. We know how it happened down to the end. Insufferable you Braves fans were on Twitter. Oh my God. And that's not even a pun. It was torture to go through. And then in the playoffs, complaining about the New York bias and whining that the Braves games are all at daytime and the Mets are at nighttime. It honestly got me to root for the Phillies, both in 22 and 23, and that's going a long way. We have to live with, Alex Anthopoulos is the genius, right? He's signing all these guys to these free agency contracts that are, deals for the team. Always making trades for ex-Mets guys. I mean, the Chris Sale trade was genius, but you got to hear about it, right? And look, our Braves bitterness goes back to the late 90s, let's be honest. And all the 90s. The Braves have been the dominant team in this division. But 99, the playoffs, this goes deep. I say they're our rivals, and God, it's good to beat them. I even saw a sports writer recently on X say, the Braves a few days ago, the Braves might not get to the NLCS this year, and I replied immediately, how about the playoffs? This is a stacked kind of wild card list. Padres are playing hot. You got the Cardinals out there. The Diamondbacks are playing well. I made the World Series last year, and the Pirates, right? The Pirates are right. They're all in there. They got great pitching. The Braves actually, their playoff percentage has dropped 94% per Fangraphs in terms of playoff possibilities, playoff odds. 94%. July 20th, it was down to 75%. After Thursday night's game. It's down to 70% now. I still think that's too high with the way this team is projected and decimated. By the way, Friday's win is worth 6% in the playoff odds. Mets are now up to 60%. That's talking about big games. That's a big swing for those people that understand probabilities. Love you whether you do or not. All right, let's get back to our Metskis. Dangerous team. I don't think Tuesday's pod did it justice with how dangerous they are. Since then, we've seen big things from my list of top 5 important players, right? McNeil rocking the ball, Alonso hitting them out, Vientos hitting them out, Alvarez hitting them out, all started pounding the ball. David Stearns just traded for a reliever from the Mariners, Stanek. I like him. Fiery guy. Playoff experience. He'll get Citi Field rocking. As long as he doesn't give up too many homers, he'll get it rocking. And Kodai Senga. Look, my number one most important player. He had an electric start Friday, striking guys out all over the place. Yes, injured though. Injured. We can't have all the good things as Mets fans. We were all hoping for a cramp. It looks like a leg strain. It's going to be a few weeks, but that's okay. As long as he's back for the playoffs, that's okay. You remember why? Psst. Offense wins championships. If you score 8 runs a game, you can give up 5 or 6. The Mets withstood a strong outing from NL Cy Young hopeful Chris Sale on Thursday night, and they still won. But the point is, offense wins championships. They'll patch it together. Senga will be back. We'll be all right. I wanted to give a few more Mets their due, as I know the midseason recap was kind of quick on Wednesday. Focus on the Yankee struggles. Look, Lindor and Nimmo have been incredible this year. Don't have to say too much more about them. JD Martinez, though, and look, I'm going to focus on a couple of the signings by Stearns here and a couple of winners, right? JD Martinez has brought that experience, that leadership. He's advised some guys on their stances and their approaches. He's a feature hitting coach. He's a leader in the room. They were 22-33, and JD Martinez led that team meeting and said, "Look, we can't get worse than this. We have no pressure anymore. We suck." And they went on the run. That's the kind of mindset. That's the kind of mindset of having winners in the room. This team hasn't had that the last few years. Martinez, big part of the Red Sox 2018 World Series win. Another World Series winner, Jose Iglesias, oh my God himself, not only for chemistry, he was on the 2013 Red Sox team that won the World Series. Him and JD know how to win. Another one that's been great, Harrison Bader, he's injured now, but in center field, solid signing. And also a clutch player. He hit 5 home runs in the 2022 postseason for the Yanks. I'm looking forward to him popping some in the postseason. So look, it's been a team effort, and look, we're excited, rightfully so. Still lots of work to do. Let's start looking at this team in historical context, and I'm gonna look at some past teams here, teams that started slow and eventually made the playoffs, and maybe more. Big thanks to Andrew Simon here, at Andrew Simon MLB. I found one of his articles that kind of summarized some of this. But look, the Mets started 21-29 in their first 50 games. They'd go on to 24-35. Here are some comps for other teams that have had the worst starts at the 50-game mark and these teams made the wild card. Division was at a set, but they did some damage in the postseason. So let's start from worst to less worse. The 2005 Astros were 18-32. They finished, that's 14 games under 500. They finished 89-73. Now, this was a 9-year run in which the Astros made 6 postseason appearances. It was the final season for Jeff Bagwell, Hall of Famer. Clemens was on the team. Pettit was on the team. I actually remember this team. They lost to the White Sox in the World Series. I actually remember this team for the home run that Albert Pujols hit against them in the playoffs that went maybe 600 feet. But wow, okay, made the World Series. 18-32 made the World Series. Now, everyone's favorite reference, I think, is actually the 2019 Nationals, right? Everyone knows the number, 19-31. They finished 93-69. That's a 107 win pace. Came from behind versus the Brewers in a wild card game. Rallied from 2-1 down versus the Dodgers. Swept the Cardinals. Overcame deficits in games 6 and 7 in Houston to win the World Series. A big comeback team. Stars, offense, Soto, Rendon, Turner. Pitching, Scherzer, Strasburg, Corbin. Everyone's favorite reference point. We also have some interesting teams like the 2009 Rockies. They started 20-30, finished 92-70 to make the playoffs. Interesting, the interim manager, right? They fired Clint Hurdle after he got them to the World Series in 2007. Hired Jim Tracy. Some good bashers here. Tulowitzki, Prime Tulowitzki, Helton, Ubaldo Jimenez had a good year. They didn't make the World Series that year, but made the playoffs. Now we're going to go to the 21-29 teams, and I'll go through these quickly, but another famous one, very recent, right? The 22 Phillies started 21-29. Girardi got fired. Rob Thompson takes over. They were like the third kind of team behind the Mets and the Braves that year, and they took it to the World Series. Very talented team. What's interesting actually about those 09 Rockies and 22 Phillies, they had other teams that, like the 09 Rockies had the 07 Rockies started 23-27. They made the World Series. And then the 22 Phillies, the 23 Phillies started 23-27 before making the NLCS. So maybe there's something about these certain teams or just second half teams, or they know they can do it. A few more, right? The 03 Marlins, World Series champs. They started 21-29. Jack McKean, right, with his victory cigars, takes over as the coach of these young guns. Guys like Juan Pierre, young Miguel Cabrera, Josh Beckett pitching, A.J. Burnett pitching. Very talented team that took out the Yankees that were heavily favored. Speaking of those Yankees, a couple of them, the 95 Yankees and the 07 Yankees both started 21 and 29. Both made the wild card. That 07 team in particular mashed. 968 runs scored. Led the league by 76 runs. A-Rod's banner year. Cano, Posada. But that team lost in the division series to the Indians. I think it was a Jabba Chamberlain series, right, with those Nats. So all right, they didn't quite go all the way. And the 22 Mariners broke a long streak. They were 21 and 29. So quite a few teams, right? The Mets are in a model here. And look, they're 65% to make the playoffs now. They're in it. They're in it to win it. A special comp, right? For those historians too. The 1973 Mets, right? Because those previous records just went back to wild card era. The 1973 Mets, though, started 35 and 46 after 81 games. This year's team was 40 and 41 at 81, but imagine that in 73. This is actually, the Tug McGraw's "You Gotta Believe" catchphrase where it came from. And look, that team took the A's to Game 7 of the World Series. So, look, it's in this DNA for the Mets, right? The Miracle Mets. The "You Gotta Believe." It's there. It's in the DNA. So, which of these teams looks most like the current Mets? It's not the 73 Mets who were built on pitching, right? That team is actually second to last in runs scored. Third best in pitching runs allowed. This Mets team's on offense, right? The Mets are 6th in runs right now, 22nd in runs allowed. But since June 1st, they've scored the most runs in MLB. And 15th in runs allowed, so middle of the pack. But what's interesting, a lot of those teams I mentioned that had those wild card runs had great pitching, right? Those 05 Astros, the 22 Mariners. So who were the great offenses? I mentioned the 07 Yankees. They bashed. And this Mets team is bashing right now. You could see them higher than 6 at the end of the year in runs scored. Offense wins championships. Well, no, those Yankees didn't, right? They ran into some Nats. Well, let's go with some different Nats. Let's go with the 19 Nats. Let's make that our Mets comp, right? Talented offense, known as underachievers in the previous playoffs. Let's channel that. Let's ride that formula. Let's have a wild come from the back postseason. Let's hope for some of that 2019 Nats magic. Let's break some curses. Most of all, let's enjoy the race. Enjoy the ride, guys. This team is dangerous. Okay, that's all for now. Enjoy the weekend. Enjoy the Olympics coming up. We'll be back next week. Okay, take care, everybody. Please keep sharing, keep rating, reviewing. Take care.